Welcome to our Yin class. And this class is going to be about tuning in. So, going inside, checking out what's happening for you. And before we begin, we'll start sitting, feeling your sits bones on the mat, getting your spine nice and long, and taking a moment to transition from the busyness of your day to arriving on your mat. Maybe taking your shoulders up to your ears, breathing in through your nose, and then letting them roll down your back as you exhale through your mouth. So let's do that a couple more times. Inhale, reaching the shoulders to your ears. And exhale, letting them roll down your back. And once more, let's bring the shoulders up. And exhale. Closing your eyes here. Feeling your sits bones on the floor. Spine nice and long. And for our class, you're going to need a bolster or a pillow or both and a blanket. So have those things nearby if you don't already. And focusing in on your breath, noticing the quality of your breath as it flows in and as it flows back out. Getting that breath all the way down into your belly. And letting go. Feeling your shoulders relaxing a little bit more. And to release any tension from your neck before we go into our first Yin pose, let's drop our chin to our chest. Letting the back of your neck stretch out. And then slowly bringing your nose up towards the ceiling. Letting the front of your throat stretch out for a moment. And then we'll take our nose into a couple of circles, nice and slow. And then taking your nose in the other direction. And coming back to center, let's come into our first shape. So we're going to come into child's pose. So coming up on your knees, maybe bringing your knees a little wider than your hips. And you can always use a bolster in between your knees, giving yourself a little extra support. And when you're ready, we're going to fold over, letting our head relax down, letting your shoulders soften, feeling the beautiful support of the floor beneath you. And just breathing all the way up the back body. As you exhale, sinking a little lower. Maybe you find you can remove the bolster as you settle here. Closing your eyes and becoming aware of your inner landscape. Observing any thoughts that might be floating on by. And just allowing those thoughts to drift.
not attaching, just allowing. Softening anything that doesn't need to be working here. Allowing your breath to be slow and steady. We'll take 5 more breaths here. And then we'll slowly bring ourselves back up. Just swinging your legs back around. Now we're going to come into a wide-legged forward fold. So if you wanted to grab a pillow, you can place that underneath your hips. Just helps to raise your hips up a little bit. And then we're going to take our legs nice and wide and making sure it feels good for you. You can take your bolster or another pillow and place it in between your legs. And then we'll slowly make our way all the way down. And if you find there's some resistance, maybe putting your head in your hands, allowing those areas that are a little tight to soften. Always listening to your body, making sure it feels right for you. Allowing your shoulders to be relaxed, face soft, breath fluid and easy. And while we're here, feeling this in the inner thighs and groin, we're tapping into those parts of us that may be gullible. So we hold gullibility in our inner thighs. So just observing what comes up for you, what rises to the surface. And while you're here, I'll share a poem by Zach Beach called Rise to the Surface. Rise to the surface of the water of life. Leave your earthly troubles behind and bubble up towards the light. Allow your presence to be as spacious as the sky. Let the gentle breeze of your breath carry your wings above the clouds and fly high. And as you soar beyond the atmosphere, greet each twinkling star, embrace an expansive eternity, an ineffable affinity, nothing less than the truth of who you are. And we'll take 5 more breaths here. And then slowly bringing yourself back up, removing any props you might have. And we'll bring those legs up. They might be a little tender. And take your hands behind you. We'll let the knees gently go from one side and then to the other. Moving mindfully back and forth. And then coming back to center, let's swing the legs back around. Coming back onto our hands and knees. We'll do a few cat-cows before we move into our next pose. So just moving your spine back and forth. And then from here, we're going to come into our beautiful swan pose. So you can take your right knee to your right hand, making sure your knee feels okay as you stretch that left leg back. So if your right knee is a bit tender today, you can always bring that foot a little bit closer to your bum. If it feels okay, you can wiggle it up a little bit higher. Taking a moment, maybe swaying from side to side, finding the center point, and then just settling here. And we'll slowly make our way down into a beautiful sleeping swan. You can use any props that you'd like. You can put a prop or a bolster underneath that right hip if you'd like, or underneath your head. And finding a spot that feels right for you. Allowing your head to rest on the mat or on your hands. Breathing into any sensations you might be experiencing in that right hip. Allowing your breath to ease away any tightness, any tension. Finding yourself sinking a little bit deeper. And our hips is where we hold our self-image. So observing what comes up for you in this swan pose. And if you find any negative thoughts arising, simply move them to the side, imagining yourself like a graceful, beautiful swan. And we'll take 5 more breaths here. And then slowly bringing yourself back up. We'll let that right leg stretch out behind us, bringing some well-deserved energy back in. Maybe bending and stretching your knee. Then we'll bring that knee back down. Let's do the other side. So when you're ready, you can slide the left knee to your left hand, wiggling that right leg back, making sure that this side feels okay with that left knee, making any adjustments to your foot so that it feels good. Maybe rocking back and forth, using any props that you need to, and then we'll slowly lower ourselves down into our sleeping swan, allowing your shoulders to soften, breathing into that left hip, making sure there's no discomfort in your knee. And while you're here, maybe asking yourself where you are stuck. What part of your life could use a little extra love, a little extra encouragement? Where can you get out of your own way? We'll take 5 more breaths here. We'll do a few cat-cows before we move into our next pose. So just moving your spine back and forth. And then from here, we're going to come into our beautiful swan pose. So you can take your right knee to your right hand, making sure your knee feels okay as you stretch that left leg back. So if your right knee is a bit tender today, you can always bring that foot a little bit closer to your bum. If it feels okay, you can wiggle it up a little bit higher. Taking a moment, maybe swaying from side to side, finding the center point, and then just settling here.
And we'll slowly make our way down into a beautiful sleeping swan. You can use any props that you'd like. You can put a prop or a bolster underneath that right hip if you'd like, or underneath your head. And finding a spot that feels right for you. Allowing your head to rest on the mat or on your hands. Breathing into any sensations you might be experiencing in that right hip. Allowing your breath to ease away any tightness, any tension. Finding yourself sinking a little bit deeper. And our hips is where we hold our self-image. So observing what comes up for you in this swan pose. And if you find any negative thoughts arising, simply move them to the side, imagining yourself like a graceful, beautiful swan. And we'll take 5 more breaths here. And then slowly bringing yourself back up. We'll let that right leg stretch out behind us, bringing some well-deserved energy back in. Maybe bending and stretching your knee. Then we'll bring that knee back down. Let's do the other side. So when you're ready, you can slide the left knee to your left hand, wiggling that right leg back, making sure that this side feels okay with that left knee, making any adjustments to your foot so that it feels good. Maybe rocking back and forth, using any props that you need to, and then we'll slowly lower ourselves down into our sleeping swan, allowing your shoulders to soften, breathing into that left hip, making sure there's no discomfort in your knee.
And while you're here, maybe asking yourself where you are stuck. What part of your life could use a little extra love, a little extra encouragement? Where can you get out of your own way? We'll take 5 more breaths here. And then slowly bringing yourself back up and letting that left leg stretch out, maybe bending and straightening it, getting some circulation back into your leg, flooding it with new energy. And from here, we're going to swing our legs around. We're going to come into a saddle pose, half saddle pose. So if you want to take your props, we're going to use maybe a couple to start with and see how that feels. So setting them up so that they're behind you. So I have a pillow and a bolster here. And then from here, we're going to take our right leg, if your knee feels okay. And we're going to bend that right knee back, having your left leg stretched out. And then we're going to lay down onto the pillows, the bolsters. So making it nice and slow, checking in, making sure that your head is going to be relaxing and that everything is feeling okay. So you want a slight curve happening in your back. You want your shoulders to be resting and rolling down over your pillow or your bolster. And this right leg is getting a nice stretch along the front, along the quads. Now, if your right foot does not feel nice when it's back like this, you can always bend it this way so that it's out. So whatever works for you, making sure you make any adjustments so that it feels like there's no sharp pains. You can close your eyes here, breathing all the way down into your belly, and just letting go, allowing your shoulders to relax, face to soften, creating some space between your eyes and your eyebrows. Maybe even lifting the corners of your mouth into a smile.
So our thighs is where we tend to hold a lot of anger and resentment. So sending some love into those tight spots. Just following the flow of your breath. Take 5 more breaths here. And then very slowly, just rolling to your left a little bit so that you can come back up. And then releasing that right leg, stretching it out. Maybe give your feet a little flex and point. Maybe wiggling your knees. And when you're ready, we'll get ready to do the other side, coming into a saddle pose on this side. So getting your left leg bent, making sure it feels okay. So each side is a bit different. So just be gentle with yourself as you ease your way down onto your props, making any adjustments that you need to. Melting back down onto the pillows or the bolsters. And just observing this side, allowing any tension to dissolve, allowing any anger, resentment to release. And bringing a smile to your face, opening up to possibilities. Just observing any shifts or changes in the front of that left leg. And we'll stay here for 5 more breaths. And then slowly
Rolling to your right side, bringing that left leg back out. Give it a little shake. We'll move the props out of the way. You're going to lay all the way down onto the mat. And bringing your right knee to your right armpit, maybe grabbing hold of the bottom of your right foot. And then maybe bringing your left knee to your left armpit and taking hold of your left foot, coming into a little happy baby pose here, allowing those knees to sink down towards the mat. Closing your eyes. Settling back into your breath. We'll stay here for 10 more breaths. And then slowly releasing your feet, sending them up to the ceiling. Let's point and flex our toes. And then we'll let the feet come back down to the mat. We're going to let our knees open up, placing your hands onto your belly, bringing your bottoms of your feet together into a little butterfly. Sending your breath all the way down into your belly. Closing your eyes. Checking out how you're feeling in this moment. Noticing if there's a little bit more space between thoughts. Slowly take your hands to your knees and bring your knees back together. We'll bring the knees into our chest and gently rocking from side to side. Giving your back a little massage. And if you have any socks or sweaters that you'd like to put on, we're going to come into our final shape. So you can even take a bolster under your knees and a blanket on top. Getting yourself comfortable, stretching out. If you have an eye pillow at home, it's always nice to place an eye pillow over your eyes, blocking out any light. Feeling the beautiful support of the floor. Giving yourself permission now to rest and digest. Allowing all of those poses and shapes to be integrated. Bringing your awareness down to the tips of your toes. Imagine relaxing energy flowing down each of your toes. Down the balls of your feet. To the arches. All the way down to your heels. Feeling your feet relaxed and letting go. And this relaxation slowly moves around your ankles and begins to travel up your shins, your calves, floating over your knees, and through to your thighs, massaging and relaxing all the muscles in your thighs. It slowly moves around your hips, perhaps feeling yourself sinking a little deeper into the mat. As this relaxation flows gently and slowly up your back, relaxing all the muscles along the way. And reaching your shoulders, releasing any last bits of stress or tension from your day. As it flows down each of your arms, over your elbows and forearms, all the way down to the tips of your fingers. Arms loose and limp. It moves up your neck and across your jawline. Feeling your cheeks sinking in. Feeling all the muscles in your face softening. Creating that space between your eyebrows. Smoothing away any lines of concern in your forehead. Feeling your entire body totally relaxed And with your eyes closed, engaging your imagination. Imagine now in front of you is a door, any shape, size, or color. And imagine this door opening. You find yourself on the other side in the most beautiful garden. Noticing all the colors, beautiful flowers. The sky is blue with a few fluffy white clouds. And the smell of all those beautiful flowers. And the sounds of the birds chirping happily in the background. And you make your way in this garden to a bench. You sit down on that bench. And beside you are 3 seeds. And you pick one up at a time, holding it in your hand, bringing it to your chest, and infusing each one of those seeds with a wish. And when each of the seeds have been infused with your wishes, you head over to some fresh turned soil, gently and carefully placing those seeds into the earth. Covering them up and knowing that your wishes have been heard. You head back through this beautiful garden, perhaps with a skip in your step, heading back towards your door. Finding yourself on the other side, and bringing a full breath into your belly. Beginning to wiggle your fingers and your toes. When you're ready, you can come all the way back up to sitting. Getting yourself in a comfortable seated position. We'll bring our voices together with the sound of Om 3 times. So taking a nice full breath in.
Bringing your hands together at your heart center, and may all your wishes come true. Namaste.